Hello, and welcome to Board Now's Cult Reviews, and on this video I will be reviewing the second episode of Charmed Season 3. The episode is called Hot Tub Club, which refers to a scene at the end of the episode. So I'll get to that one, but yeah, this was another enjoyable episode. Again, it was a very interesting, character-driven episode. I think it's one that really builds again kind of where we're going with some of the characters this season, and also some of the themes of the show in general. I just have to mention, actually, I did make a bit of a boo-boo last video because I did get a name muddled up. I remember saying Melanie for the name of Bash's wife, or the girl he's married, and to help her get a green card to stay in the country. And the character's actually called Rhonda. Melanie's a different character, so apologies for that mistake. It happens in a show where there's a lot of different characters, but anyway, yeah, just to correct that, it's actually Rhonda, not Melanie. But I'll get into it. I mean, this episode, I think, again, is very much looking at a feminist sort of thing. And, obviously, feminism in the 80s, and in this backdrop of, inequality and just the lack of options for women during those years, and just how tough it was for women, and obviously that's part of the point of the show, the fact that you essentially have these women trying to make ends meet for themselves, trying to excel at something which they're looked down for. I mean, obviously wrestling in some quarters is sort of frowned upon anyway, but I mean, especially women's wrestling, because it's just seen as kind of glamour, or it's seen as this is something women shouldn't be doing, they should just stay at home, and if it's gonna be, it should be the men, that sort of thing. But I think we see individual cases in this episode of the sort of stuff women had to put up with, and sometimes still put up with even to this day, and kind of the different ambitions and the different places of the characters. So there's quite an interesting plot growing between Nalanda and Arfi, who of course started seeing each other at the end of last season. Sunita Mani plays Arfi, and I'm really impressed with her. I think she's actually a very subtle actress, really brings some vulnerability to that role, but is naturally very likable, and really connectable in that role, I think. She was also in Mr. Robot, by the way. And I think what's interesting about their relationship is obviously it's exploring a different sexuality, it's exploring a lesbian relationship. But it's sort of interesting, the experience levels, the difference between the two, and the confidence, because Lowell is this really go-getting, experienced girl who sort of burst on the scene in season 2, and she did rub a few characters up the wrong way, and slowly she was sort of accepted by the group. But it's an interesting dynamic between the two, because Lowell is a lot more experienced than Arthie is, and so the episode opens with the various couples in their hotel rooms, and I mean it actually opens with Debbie on a plane, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's all quite well connected. But we see the various couples in their hotel room. We also see Bash and Rhonda having sex, for example, having quite passionate sex, and the implication is that they've been having sex for a while. But yeah, the plot between Nalanda and Arthie did capture my attention, because they're starting to get intimate, and basically, Nalanda wants to take it to the next stage, and she tries to go down on her, and Arthie isn't really into it, and she kind of politely says, yeah, I've been enjoying this, but it was good, but let's go to sleep, sort of thing. And she nervously tries to sort of break away, and you can tell she isn't very confident, and obviously the Londa picks up on this as well. And so there's a bit of tension in their relationship in this episode, and the Londa sort of takes against this, really, because she feels like they're in this place where they're ready to be intimate for the first time and to experiment, and that Arthie is just denying this, and basically the Londa takes rejection very badly, and we see her go off on her own, and again we're seeing some of these different things and ideas of how these ladies, are they're trying to branch out and trying to experience different things. So Nalanda offers to look after Bash's car at one point because she bumps into Bash and Rhonda is sick, which again I'll get to in a minute. And so she takes Bash's car because basically they find out that, or Nalanda finds out that there's hardly a taxi within distance, so she can't. It's very hard to move about between the hotel and, if she wants to go shopping or somewhere else. So when she sees that Rhonda is ill, she takes that opportunity to look after Bash's car. So basically, she's got transport. So yeah, I think that's a side of Nalanda there. She's quite sort of savvy in that way. She sees an opportunity and she takes it, and I think she relishes in, because Bash has this, he's quite a well-off guy and has a bit more of a glamorous lifestyle. He's swanning around a bit with Rhonda, and they sort of go about in style, whereas Nalanda, she's slumming it with the other wrestlers, really. And I think this is part of the point that so far the season is sort of getting across, the fact that there's still this distance between Bash and his role and his sort of lifestyle and that of the female wrestlers. There is this inequality, and that essentially the wrestlers, or the ladies in this case, have to struggle and have to crawl their way up still. It's more of a struggle than it should be, especially considering they're the stars of the show, and that without them there wouldn't really be a show. But anyway, as I was saying, Nalanda talks Bash into that, so she ends up taking his car, and she treats herself to a salon day. And so later on, Arfie catches up with her, and there's all this subtext because with this being the 80s and stuff, obviously homosexuality at this stage isn't a very out there sort of topic. It's not, it would still be very much frowned upon. So she's kind of talking in code, Lalonda. She's talking to the sort of hairdresser about a problem she's having with a quote boyfriend, which of course means Arfie. And she talks about this issue with sex, and obviously the hairdresser's giving her advice. And then at one point, Arfie shows up. I don't know if she was meant to have followed her, or maybe just asked where she was going. But anyway, she shows up at the salon, and Nalanda is actually really harsh with her. She sends these sort of coded message, and again she's talking about her boyfriend, which is, of course, she's talking about Arfie, but she's doing it to her face. But sending these coded message, and then at one point the scene ends with her saying, I don't need a boyfriend anymore, or something like that. And she sort of storms out, and the hairdresser's like, good for you. And obviously Arfie takes this personal because it's sort of aimed at her. So then they end the episode anyway, making up and in a good place. And Lalonda is honest and says, I feel you pulling away. I feel we're at this good place now, this intimate place. And Arfie says, she says something about, I do enjoy intimacy with you. I enjoy our interactions. I enjoy it sort of every day of the week. And I think this is, again, an interesting twist, that she's talking about the wrestling side, the performance side. And so Lalonda sort of counters by saying, but that's in the ring, and that, we're obviously pleasant to each other outside the ring, but, whenever it comes to these intimate moments, these, really big romantic moments, you are still distant, sort of thing. But anyway, it turns into a nice sort of scene between them where they do have sex, but they start flirting with each other by, kind of doing wrestling, if you like. So it's kind of, the performance side mixing in with their personal side and the intimacy. But yeah, there's a good little comment there about maybe the nature of wrestling, and about the complexities of, mixing it with a personal life, mixing it with a relationship with someone you work with. But it just makes for a nice sort of visual sort of scene, the fact that they actually flirt using wrestling sort of thing, and it sort of brings them together. But some interesting stuff there between those characters, again, obviously commenting on the era and how frowned upon and how not out in the open homosexuality would be. But I think, again, some good character stuff for both of them. That sort of drives the episode quite well. As I said, Rhonda is ill in this episode, and things have been getting pretty intense between her and Bash. And I mean, the sort of implication is that she maybe isn't so much into the relationship as him, or certainly I think there's the feeling that he's starting to see it as more than just a green card marriage. anyway, I think again we see a flawed side of Bash, the fact that he doesn't quite, he maybe takes Rhonda for granted. I mean, so at some point she's getting ill, and he sort of naively thinks because they've been having sex a lot, then she might be pregnant, and she says no, and it's a woman's illness, it's a long-term illness, sort of sickness sort of thing, homesickness and that sort of thing, and that obviously takes him aback, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. So at one point he tries to pull it off onto Carmen, and she rightly calls him out on his bullshit. She says, she says, just because I'm her roommate, that doesn't mean you can put it on me. You've got to be there for her. You can't just be there for her when it suits you, or in a romantic or sexual way. Yeah, she's your wife. You've got to be responsible. You've got to be sensitive and support her. And Carmen quite rightly calls her out. And I mean, there's a lot of home truths to what Carmen's saying, because she, this is an episode where they're all letting their hair down. It's a day off from the show, and it's sort of showing the various ways that they take a break and let their hair down. And so Carmen is just giving it straight to him. She's saying, this is my day off, my one day off for a long time. I'm rightly letting my hair down. I'm having a good time. That's what I've done today. And now I've got back before a show tomorrow. And yeah, it's quite right. Then I want to go to bed. I want to relax. And that I shouldn't have this problem dumped on me just because you don't want to deal. I mean, that's the context. And I think she's kind of getting across to Bash not to take Rhonda for granted, and not to take Carmen for granted, not to assume that just because she's Rhonda's roommate and friend, then it's her responsibility to care for her. So again, I think it plays into this sort of theme that they're driving, and about women being taken for granted by men. I mean, here in a different sort of way, Bash is taking Carmen for granted, and I think it's also a character beat for Bash, where he's still very naive and boyish, and of course we know about his homosexuality as well. So yeah, there's a sense that he's still getting to know women. He's still quite naive to the world, and that maybe he's got a bit too swept up in his sort of lifestyle and the sort of minor celebrity in a way. So again, that's all interesting stuff. And I mean, in the end of the episode, he is a bit more supportive to Rhonda and is there for her when she's in bed. But again, it is all interesting character stuff. It all links nicely together. So the other two plots really in the episode is you see Debbie flying home to be with her son. So that's obviously what she's doing on her day off. And we get this continuing thing with Debbie where she is progressing further into being this, ambitious, career-driven woman. She's obviously a big part of the business side of the wrestling. But at the same time, yeah, she obviously has this son back home in California, and she's trying to balance that with the professional, with the wrestling side and the business side. And that's what comes up, because in the opening scene we see her on the plane, obviously flying out to California, and she has this sort of moment with like the host, the stewardess, and the stewardess, you know, bonds with her because she has a kid as well. But yeah, I think it's obviously commenting on the attitude of the era and how it wasn't, you know, so accepted, women going out and working and, you know, obviously maybe putting their careers a bit ahead of family. But the woman is sort of commenting on, yeah, how she misses her son, how tough it is. And she actually gives Debbie a gift, which is like a sort of a model or badge. It's kind of wing sort of thing, so it's quite symbolic because they're on an aeroplane and Debbie's away from her son. And I mean, we find out later that Debbie really takes offence to this because she gives a funny look, you know, when she's given the wings, and that's when it cuts to credits. But yeah, she obviously feels then she's being sort of talked down to a bit by the woman, and that the stewardess is judging her really because she's away from the kid. So she later sort of gives the wings back and, you know, is sort of rude to the stewardess. But yeah, there's this man sitting next to her on the plane who's obviously, you know, a business guy as well. And I recognise the actor, and I'm pretty sure of this, but I think it's the actor who played the Wiz in Seinfeld in that last season, that one episode, the cheesy commercial guy who dates Elaine. And the joke is she doesn't realise that he's this guy off TV years ago who Jerry knew. But yeah, he's one of those character actors you do see him pop up from time to time. He was actually in the last Halloween movie. He had a small role in that, so you know you do see him pop up. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same actor. But anyway, he's sitting next to Debbie on the plane, and at one point she turns to him and says, you know, have you ever been asked about how much time you spend away from your kids and what have you? And so yeah, it's this poignant sort of comment and moment, and once again the hypocrisy of the whole thing, you know, the fact that it's all right for men to have it both ways, to balance a career and be away from the kids and have the family life as well. But if a woman does it, they are judged. And again, that's a big part of how we've progressed. You know, it is now much more accepted than, I mean, for example, in this case, Debbie is divorced from her husband. But I mean, actually, it's significant in the show because, of course, her ex-husband Rick, with Debbie on the road, does look after the son a lot. So in a way, yeah, Debbie is sort of actually pushing that forward and being a bit more progressive. But at this point in time, that was frowned upon. In a way, it's probably not anymore. So again, we're seeing a lot of growth with Debbie, a lot of balancing of the two, her career, but also her personal life, her relationship with her son. And she hears later on the phone from, I think it's Rick, the name of her ex-husband, and he's taken his first steps, and obviously she's sad, you know, because she wasn't there to see it. And she insists, can you buy a camera so you can film these things in the future? And the other plot of the episode is Ruth and Sam. So this is continuing to slowly burn along. And again, it's their day off, and I think we're seeing this side to Ruth, where she continues to have this passion and this drive, where she can't take a day off. Essentially, she keeps on writing, or she's writing and coming up with ideas for the show. So again, it's good that we're seeing these women being so ambitious, so passionate about their craft. But Sam, I think, again, as a bit of a father figure for Ruth, is kind of judging her, saying, come on, this is your day off, take a break, sort of thing. And I think there's a little gag about him, and he's writing another one of these cheesy sort of B movies that he likes to write and direct. But anyway, he's generally concerned about Ruth, and is conscious that she should take a break, so he kind of treats her to the casino. And Ruth, as we saw in the previous episode, is very anti-casino, very cynical of that. Obviously, when the girls were treated to the casino, she wasn't really sure about it. She thought they were being bought, and that was all quite dodgy. But it's sort of a nice compromise in this episode, because I think her and Sam just have a good time at the casino, and Ruth is just it's she says it's not that she likes the casino so much, but just the fact that she has a good time with Sam, and that maybe isn't so bad. It's about who you're with, so they have a good time, and I think it's a genuine sort of moment from Sam to encourage Ruth to let her hair down. So again, we're seeing this balance where when they do have a day off, it's good for the wrestlers to let their hair down and to take a break from the show. But again, there's this underlying tension between Sam and Ruth. And for most of the day, they're having a nice time. They go out for lunch, and, they're sort of very playful, very friendly. And again, Alison Brie is just brilliant in this. She's just so good at selling every little moment, and the way she sells, what a good time she's having with Sam, and just through her smile and her subtle body movements. And obviously they have this really good chemistry, which has been there since the first season. But it sort of comes to a head in the final scene when they're sort of in a hot tub together, and Sam is very direct, very honest, and he confronts Ruth about his feelings for her, and is honest and breaks it down. And it's almost, the message he gives to her in this scene, it reminds me a bit of a message, that Spike is sort of, that Spike in Buffy gives to Buffy and Angel. And it's almost this idea of love, then essentially sometimes you can't hide from your feelings, and sometimes when you're around a person and these feelings are there under the surface, which I think it's fair to say they are in this case, then you've got to confront them, and you can only do one of two things. You can either, give it a go, be together and try it out, or you've got to be distant. and you've got to, stay away from each other, because otherwise you just drive each other crazy. Now, I think this is sort of open for debate whether this is such a case. I mean, there's no doubt Ruth and Sam appear to have feelings for each other, and he obviously is very honest and open here. But yeah, that's my reading of the scene, and Sam is basically saying to Ruth, we've got to deal with this. If we're going to be on tour together and spend a lot of time together, we've got to fess up to our feelings. Otherwise it's not going to work. We can't be on tour together. Or there's going to be this tension in the air because we're not facing up to it. And Ruth, kind of is very nervous, and she says, I'm sorry if I led you on, or something like that. I just don't see you this way. And obviously Sam doesn't believe that, and at one point Ruth, mentions the age difference and what have you. And so it's a very awkward scene, and then to make things even worse, one of the other wrestlers, the one played by Kira Stevens, so the real life Orson Kong, she walks into like the hot tub, and that's where the line comes from, the episode title, Hot Tub Club. So she kind of walks in at the worst possible moment, basically. So then there's this dead silence between Ruth and Sam, and Ruth says, I was just leaving. And yeah, it's a really tense moment, and it sort of brings their potential relationship to a head. And yeah, it does leave it very much on a knife edge whether they can make a relationship work if there is something there, or if it is more of a father-daughter thing. I think that's what Ruth was getting at with her comment about his age. And it's not like she's being negative about his age. It's just the fact that the age, is a factor. There is a big age difference, and that maybe for those reasons it's more of a friendship than a romance. But clearly there are these feelings both ways. But really good scenes again, really good chemistry between the two actors, and you really buy into the conflict. So they really sold it on me in this episode, and a lot of good individual character scenes. I really like the stuff with Debbie on the plane, and the stuff with Nalanda and Arfi as well. I thought was really good, really developed their characters some more. So yeah, this season is building quite nicely. I think we're getting, again, it's expanding on the themes and the characters. And I mean, I think one thing I really like about Glow is the pacing of the season. So, 2 episodes in, it feels like a slow burn, but we are doing interesting things with all the characters, it seems. But yeah, it's still a slow burn 2 episodes in, and moving towards the bigger moments and what the season's arc's going to be. So yeah, so far so good. Really enjoying Glow once again. Really good writing and some standout performances. So very enjoyable. So that's Glow. That's the 2nd episode of Glow season 3. And let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll be back with another Glow review soon. Goodbye.